Hello, everybody. Good morning and welcome back to the lab. Really excited for today's episode. But before we begin, I just wanted to say thank you again to Alan Ops for coming on with me last week. Senior physiotherapist down with Tennis Australia. So, Alan, again, thanks for catching up with me, man. To today's topics. So, today I have Annette Zapp with me. Annette, thank you for joining me.
You are so welcome, and I'm so happy to be here.
So for those of you who are not familiar with, I will now refer to you as AZ. So AZ, all right, you're a fire department health and wellness program development specialist. Say that 5 times fast.
I don't even think I can repeat what you just said. I think you may have just done my elevator speech better than I do my elevator speech.
No, the reason I wanted to bring AZ on here today, guys, is, obviously, as you guys know, I like to bring a lot of the world of strength and conditioning, sports performance, sports medicine to you. And so I wanted to have a chance to bring on someone who has an in-depth knowledge of first responders and their training, let alone maybe the lack thereof, especially in the world of performance, preparation, and then maybe even nutrition side of things. But we're gonna have some fun today. So, Annette, before we kind of get started, I want to know more about you. So, give me a little bit about a background.
The most exciting thing about me right now is that I'm retired. Okay, I just retired from a 20-year fire service career
Oh, wow.
in March. And then I decided instead of just being retired, I was going to go get a PhD. So I'm starting a PhD in the fall at Oklahoma State University with Dr. J. Dawes. Yes, so excited about it.
Wow.
And as you can probably guess, we are going to be doing research in firefighters. So my degree will be in health and human performance, and my research project will be on firefighters. A little bit more about me. I am a biochemist by degree. I have a master's in biochemistry and molecular biology. So, of course, the next logical step with that is to become a strength and conditioning coach and a nutritionist, right? That's logical. And then I decided I really needed a job that had big girl benefits and time off. So I
Mhm.
decided to become a firefighter and never knew that all of those worlds would collide so perfectly in like this big puzzle that
Mhm.
makes me uniquely qualified to work with firefighters. So the thing with firefighters is you look at them and you think of them as a lot of people call them athletes. There's this whole tactical athlete term, which I kind of
Mhm.
hate, honestly.
Hmm.
Tactical personnel kind of sits a little bit better with me,
Yeah.
or occupational personnel, whatever you want to call it. But tactical athlete kind of just makes everyone go, ew. But anyway, when you kind of in your head imagine firefighters, you're thinking of the ones that are, holding the puppies half closed on calendars with the six packs. And the reality is, firefighting is a really freaking tough occupation where you're
Mhm.
sleep deprived and traumatized. And a lot of people, the last thing from the front of their mind is their health and wellness. So I guess I'm uniquely qualified to work with the population because I was the population. And I think that that sort of makes me also really able to meet them where they are, which is really important with any client. But especially, I think I always say you can't bully people who by choice walk into a 1,000-degree oven when like everyone, including the rats, are running out and we're going inside to do something.
Mhm.
You can't bully those people. So you just have to really meet them where they are.
Mhm. Wow. I did not. First of all, congratulations on starting the PhD. That is awesome.
No, it's
That-
I made a meme. You know that one where the guy's sweating and there's two buttons, and the one button was like right off into the sunset and enjoy my retirement. And the other button was start a PhD with Dr. Doss.
Oh, that's so awesome.
I'm excited. I'm really excited. We're gonna have a lot of fun. He is the perfect advisor for me. In fact, he was just on a podcast. He was on it's called the Science Dudes podcast. It's Jose Antonio and Tony Ricci from ISSN. And he stated, he's like, I've already told Annette, if she stops by my house unannounced, I may be walking around the yard in shorts and cowboy boots. And she just has to agree with it. That's fine. So yeah, we're going to be perfect together.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Oh my gosh. No, that'll be so cool.
Yes. Tangent. Already went on a tangent.
I know this is gonna be fun. We're gonna have a lot of fun with this. No, so kind of moving on then to the next question. So what inspired you to kind of move into the fire department health and like, wellness like program development? Like what was like that light bulb like because you said you had your degrees and that kind of like qualified you to get into that, but then what was like the light switch that was like, oh yeah, this is what I want to do?
Oh, yeah. So when I started at the
Mhm,
fire department in 2004, I was still training primarily youth and adolescent athletes. So baseball players, hockey players, and then the occasional physique competitor
mhm,
and maybe some general population. That was kind of who I was focusing on. And I still kept doing that when I started the fire service. And then I just realized like, dang, these guys need me way more than Mildred, who wants to do a bikini competition. These people need
mhm,
health and wellness services. They need people that understand them. And so
mhm,
I kind of just like closed up shop and completely transitioned to working only with, and I say firefighters, it's not firefighters, it's fire departments. And
mhm,
so if you're an individual firefighter in whatever town,
mhm.
I don't work with firefighters one-on-one. That's not my niche, but I work with fire departments.
Okay, awesome. So go a little bit more into that. So like when you go to help a fire department, what would you say are like a lot of the unique challenges that a firefighter or a fire department's going to face in terms of like maybe physical health, maybe like where's the gaps in like preparation that maybe you started seeing when you were working as a firefighter, and then what you've trying to implement, like what you've been trying to implement, as a clinician and as like, what you do as a specialist.
That's the hardest easy question that anyone's ever asked me, but it's so easy because we have to go after firefighters have increased mortality risk over the general population.
Hmm.
In things like cancer, their risk is much higher. Suicide is an epidemic in the country right now, honestly, but I would argue that firefighters maybe are a little bit more at risk due to the traumas they see and the sleep deprivation they experience. And then cardiovascular disease is killing our firefighters. So, and interestingly enough, subclinical cardiovascular disease is, we're starting to find out it's pretty prevalent. Um, South Metro Fire, which is south of Denver in Colorado, has been doing some really interesting work. They're in the very, very beginning stages of it, but they are finding that their firefighters, asymptomatic firefighters who did not even screen out as a risk, have some pretty significant blockages in their coronary arteries. So completely asymptomatic, but some of these firefighters, they're finding they like an 80% blockage in their LAD. So that is a ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
And so I have this piece of paper. I wrote this down when I was driving the other day. I was
Hmm.
talking to J Dot, and he said, we know that the job is unhealthy. Why would we make it more unhealthy intentionally?
Hmm.
So I go after all of those things that I know are risks for our firefighters.
Hmm.
And then the upstream things, those things that we can intentionally make better for the firefighters. And for me, it boils down to four pretty simple things. Sleep. We have to educate them on sleep, and we have to do
Hmm.
everything we can to make sure that they are getting quantity and quality sleep if possible. Nutrition is number two. We know it's a no-brainer. People that eat better are healthier. End of story. And then I put mental health training, mindfulness, things such as yoga, gratitude practice, all of those things I put in one box along with counseling and having a good social interactions and social support. And then the fourth thing is exercise. And you're probably thinking like, why don't you put exercise first? I truly believe that we go the furthest upstream first. So focusing on the sleep, which makes everything better, then the nutrition, which makes everything better, and then the exercise comes after that. And so just simply helping departments recognize these are the things that are taking the lives of our firefighters,
Hmm.
and these are some of the ways that we can start addressing those mortality risks. And
Hmm.
it just, I can't take a cookie cutter. I can't stamp it and say Naperville, Illinois, and we talked about Dayton, Ohio, or whatever. I can't stamp it,
Mhm.
but the needs of fire departments are pretty similar across the country.
Mhm. No, that is, I mean, you are hitting on all the points that I absolutely love. The nutrition, the sleeping points, like doesn't matter what you do in the weight room, doesn't matter what you do training wise. If you don't have the basic necessities, building blocks like already ready to go, then there's no amount of training that will help you.
Right. And to be fair, we
Hmm.
know if I put all of those things in little buckets, so sleep and nutrition and paying
Hmm.
attention to my mental health and my exercise, if one of those buckets is hemorrhaging, let's say sleep is hemorrhaging, you got a newborn, your wife had a really rough pregnancy, so she's super tired and super stressed. And oh, by the way, uh, your mother-in-law just got a cancer diagnosis. I mean, you've got it coming all directions.
Hmm.
So your sleep is crap. That bucket has a hole in it. Then you try to fill up the other buckets to sort of soften and mitigate that impact of the sleep deprivation. So paying a little extra attention to your nutrition, a little extra attention to the fact that I need to take a couple walks today to sort of offset the fact that I'm not getting enough sleep.
Hmm. So,
But
mhm.
firefighters are firefighters. They're not exercise physiologists. Okay.
Hmm.
And we do this thing in the fire service. People call 911 when they don't know what else to do.
Hmm.
So let's say you're having a heart attack, legitimate reason to call 911. Your house is on fire, legitimate reason to call 911. Some ducks went down a drain, not really a legitimate reason to call 911, but we still come and we still solve the problem.
Hmm.
Your toilet is overflowing and flooding the neighbor downstairs. We're
Hmm.
not plumbers, but people still call 911. And guess what? We solved the problem. So
Hmm.
we have this jack of all trades mentality that tends to overlap then into the exercise physiology. Because
Hmm.
if the chief knows my firefighters can fix a furnace, fix a toilet, get the ducks out of the drain, and get the cat out of the tree, they probably can take care of themselves too. They probably know what they should do to take care of their bodies, but they don't.
Makes sense. It's just so when you have groups of individuals like you just said, um, and then you like you also said before, you said that you can't take a cookie cutter. How are you going about to these different departments and kind of providing a more unique or individualized department plan or program? Like, what are you doing to kind of help them with that?
So, as with anything, it doesn't matter if you're working with or you're wanting to work with a baseball team, if you are wanting to be a mechanic for, I don't know, a fleet, and bring me back to that mechanic thing because I got a really good analogy for that. But it doesn't matter what you're trying to do
Mhm.
unless somebody has a job opening, a posting that says, we want X, Y, and Z and we
Mhm.
want you to work this many hours a week and we're going to pay you this. Unless that job description exists, you are going to have to figure out what the department or the fleet management or the chicken coop cleaner, whatever it is, you're going to have to figure out what that job needs.
Mhm.
And you do that with a needs assessment. And so I do it this way. I come in and I meet with the stakeholders. And the stakeholders, depending upon what kind of a department it is, because there's different kinds of departments. There's city departments, there's
Mhm.
county departments, there's government departments, there's fire
Mhm.
protection districts. There's all kinds of different departments, and the stakeholders are different in different kinds of departments.
Mhm.
But you come in and you meet with the stakeholders, and typically that looks like a few of the line firefighters, a few of the line officers, a few of the administrative officers.
Mhm.
And the difference is the line officers work the 24-hour shifts, just like the line firefighters, and the administrative officers work Monday through Friday, probably 8 to 5. So that's the difference there. And then more than likely, you'll have the union. If it's a union department, you might have people from the village or the city. You might even have people from city council. These are people that are stakeholders in the decision-making process. Workers' comp might be one of them. County hospital, there could be all kinds of different ones, but you identify the stakeholders.
Mhm.
And then you sit down with them and you say, what is going on at your department? What do you perceive as your shortcomings, as your needs? What is your wish list? What do you want? Ask really good questions, but then you have to be able to listen and read between the lines, because I've heard this before. Back injuries are killing us. Back injuries are just the worst thing that's going on here. And back injuries are terrible. Yes, they sure are. But if you just take them at their word, back injuries are killing us, you don't have all the information.
Mhm.
I know that the department that told me back injuries are killing us has 500 firefighters. And they had one back injury in 3 years. Now, again, back injuries are very expensive, but that's not an epidemic of back injuries. That's actually pretty darn good for 500 people, one
Wow.
in 3 years.
Yeah.
So then you have to acknowledge, yes, I understand that we're perceiving this as a problem,
Mhm.
but the actual back injury isn't the problem. So then you kind of work backwards. So why are people getting injured? They're overweight and obese. Why are they overweight and obese? Because they don't have direction in their training, in their nutrition. They don't understand the importance of sleep. And so I kind of make sort of a sandwich. You know, when you have to give someone some criticism and you tell them something positive, something negative, and you make a sandwich,
Yep.
it's kind of the same thing with a needs analysis. I
Mhm.
know you want to address the back injuries, so this is how we're going to do it. And then here's what we really need to get done. And then back to those back injuries. This is how we're going to come full circle. So
Mhm.
the needs analysis, it's a process and it takes a while. And you really have to get good at asking good questions and reading between the lines. That said, most departments need education on sleep, nutrition, mental health, movement. They need direction in the on the training ground or in the gym,
Mhm.
and they need someone to be able to ask questions.
Mhm.
So, hey, I saw this supplement on TV. What do you think? Well, that's not really within my scope of practice. Let me get you to someone who can answer that question.
Mhm.
They need someone to wrangle the questions. But then you package all these things together and you call it a solution. Here's the solution to your problem. And then you put a price tag on it. It's
Mhm.
really that simple. But here's the problem.
Mhm.
We we get all excited. We want to quit our job and work with firefighters. So that's what we're going to do. And please, God, do not quit your job to work with firefighters because it's going to take you 5 years to get your first contract. So do not quit your job. So we get all excited and we put together this perfect proposal and we forget to put an expiration date on it. And we forget to, this is kind of like dating. So we want to follow up, but we don't want to be awkward and creepy about it. And what we should really be doing is put together the solution,
Mhm.
put the price tag on it, put the expiration date on it, and go on with your life. Hey, we're not waiting by the phone. We're not waiting by the phone for that fire department to call because guess what? They're not calling
Mhm.
because fire departments are in the job of responding to emergencies.
Mhm.
And Chief Bob Baker put it best. It is a giant game of whack-a-mole. Here's an emergency, whack-a-mole. Here's another one. Here's another one. And your silly proposal is not on their radar
Mhm.
until there's a problem.
Mhm.
So someone actually does get injured. Someone falls off a ladder and
Mhm.
busts up their back. And then you're like, and the department's like, oh, wait a minute. What about that proposal that we had 3.5 years ago? And then they think, oh, we've got to do something. So, couple of things. We're going to come up with a solution. We're going to write the beautiful proposal. The proposal has a price, proposal has a deadline. And then we go on with our life. Just like when some dude says he's going to call us to go out for dinner. We're not waiting by the phone. Now I promised you to come back to the mechanic. Can I come back to the mechanic? We spend millions and millions and millions of dollars on equipment.
Mhm.
A typical fire engine can be 175 to 350 if it's all tricked out, possibly more. A fire truck can be 2 million and it's getting more expensive by the minute. An ambulance, I think, is around 350. We spend a lot of money on equipment. And so guess what we do? We also spend a lot of money on taking care of the equipment. We spend a lot of money on daily maintenance, weekly. Let me ask you a question. How often do you check the oil in do you drive a truck or a car?
Durango.
Durango. How often do you check the oil in your Durango? Say
Soon.
never.
Let's say probably never.
Never. No,
Someone
you
else to
take it
do
and
it.
get your oil changed every whatever when it tells you to get your oil changed, right?
As soon as I hit that mileage marker.
We check the freaking oil, the dipstick, every week on Mondays at my department. Okay. And the transmission fluid. Okay. We spend valuable time of highly trained firefighters checking the oil on these rigs because it's so important to take good care of them. They have a tire replacement schedule. They have a brake replacement schedule. They have all of these things scheduled out to extend the life of these very expensive pieces of equipment. But if you were in my talk at Great Lakes, I told you we spent $1.8 million on our ladder truck, but we also spent $1.8 million, probably a little bit more, on me during the course of my career. And that depreciating investment of the ladder truck got so much attention and time and money, and the appreciating investment of AZ got very little. And so we have to stop thinking of humans as a poor investment. We have to start thinking them as a great investment, because here's the problem. 20 years ago, when I got my job, everybody wanted this job. 600 people took the test when I wanted my job. 600. And they tested every, I think it's 2 years. So if you didn't make that list, you got to wait 2 more years and try again, Charlie Brown. We are testing 3 or 4 times a year now and getting 10 at most people on our list. And then we can't even hire enough to fill our vacancies. And that is not just my department. That is throughout the state of Illinois and probably throughout many parts of the country. This job is not as attractive as it used to be. And so we have to take better care of the people that we already have.
Yeah.
That was a big soapbox. I got to take a breath for a second.
Definitely tell you're passionate about this. I love this. This is good.
Well, I mean, we just have to do better by the people that we literally raise our hand and say, yeah, I don't know you, but I will walk into 1,000-degree oven to try to find not only you, but your baby, your grandma, and your dog. We have to take better care of those people.
I agree. I 1,000% agree with that. Man. So kind of going into, let's find a positive experience you've had in regards to, I'm just joking. But what would be like a success story that you've had with implementing, like let's say you had the proposal, you implemented it. What would be like a success story that you've had?
Absolutely. And here, let me just tell you, once you get someone, the someone's come out of the woodwork and you can't even keep up anymore. So it is like slow, 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 slow. Holy shit, I'm falling down the hill so fast, I can't keep up. But what I think is really important to note is that it took me a long time to get my first contract. It took me 3.5 years, I want to say. And I kept telling them as part of my presentation, like, you need to be an early adopter. And in fact, you're almost too late to be an early adopter, but you are going to be a model for how things should be done in the fire service. And and they listened. They listened, and I was there for 6 years. And so the beautiful thing about it is you can create the best relationships when you have a trust. Everyone talks about buy-in, but I
Yeah.
think buy-in is just another word for trust.
Yeah.
When firefighters and other public safety personnel, so law enforcement officers, EMS, when they trust you,
Hmm.
you are part of the group, and they will do anything you ask within reason to improve themselves. And they will work so hard, and they are so happy that someone is taking care of them.
Hmm.
Isn't it just cool to know that someone gives a shit at your job? I
Hmm.
mean, that's just cool. Someone cares about me enough that they have someone to take care of me. So I think that's cool. I got passionate and I threw my light. Everything's all messed up. But so here's the thing. Do
Hmm.
not do not be discouraged
Hmm.
if you want to work with first responders, but just know it's going to take a really long time. And you are going to have to create a relationship. So you cannot one time call
Hmm.
up the fire department and say, "Hey, I'm a strength and conditioning coach and I have all the solutions to all of your problems." They'll be like, "Real cute kid," and they'll hang up on you because they have better things to do.
Hmm.
But if you take the time to cultivate a relationship with the right people in the fire department,
Hmm.
things can evolve more organically. Let me give you an example.
Hmm.
This happens at least once a week, and it is so, so annoying. Someone on LinkedIn wants to connect.
Hmm.
And I look and I'm like, they know somebody I know. It's fine, whatever, click. 32 seconds later, I
Hmm.
get an email I'm sorry, a message from them, and they want to pick my brain or whatever, whatever, whatever. And of
Hmm.
course, they're not offering to pay me for my time or anything like that. They just want to take advantage of my knowledge.
Hmm.
Now, I will do almost anything for a friend. And honestly, I'll do almost anything for someone who's taken the time to cultivate some sort of a relationship,
Hmm.
not 32 seconds later. So it's very off putting,
Hmm.
these little messages.
Hmm.
And I now have like what do you call it? A standard response, and that gets rid of them all. But the fire department feels the same way about you when you call and say, "Hey, I'm a dietitian and I want to work for your department."
Hmm.
Where's the relationship? To create a relationship.
Yeah. No grounds to kind of stand on in order to do that.
Yeah, like, dude, why would I spend any time at all on your app that you developed? I don't know you. Why? Why would I? I don't understand.
Yeah. No credibility. You don't know what they're about. You don't know whether they're
Yeah, so my new standard, it's basically I am available for consulting at an hourly rate. I have no additional space on my schedule for pro bono work at this time. And here's my schedule link to schedule me. And usually they don't even respond to that.
really. Wow.
Nope.
I'm gonna have to pick your brain on how to do that myself.
Boundaries. They have to be
Yeah.
boundaries.
1000%. Oh my God.
I truly believe if you want to do something, even
Hmm.
if you're scared spitless, say
Hmm.
yes. You'll figure it out. But
Hmm.
if you don't want to do something, don't. Just don't.
I'm learning more from you though. Oh my gosh. This is fantastic. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm not gonna lie. This is good, Annette. I like this.
All
Um,
right. I've been on many tangents. Back to your questions.
so one of the things that kind of I don't want to say caught me off guard, but I guess kind of more surprised me more than anything was do you remember when we were in the it was like the good, the bad, and the ugly the question in the Great Lakes Conference when everyone was kind of talking, asking questions to three up at the front of the room?
Nope,
Uh,
I wasn't at that talk. I was at the dietitian one.
okay, I'm trying to remember. Um, because I thought you had gone up to the front.
Oh, no, no, no. Now I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, there was
Yes.
another one
It
after
was
the
the
diet.
panel discussion. Yes.
Yes,
Yes, yes,
yes.
yes.
And I
Okay.
remember one of the questions was like, is it important for one of the firefighters to go out and get a certification and bring it back to the department? And your answer actually kind of surprised me, because you said, "What good is the certification if they don't know how to implement it?" And
Yeah.
in my mind, I'm thinking, "Oh yeah, this is going to be fun." So that's why I wanted to pick your brain more about like, could you elaborate more on that? Like, because they were talking about getting more knowledge and like the strength conditioning background, but then you went out, you got the certification, cool. Like how do you go about making good use of that? Like, could you elaborate a little bit more on
Oh my God, for like 4 hours. Okay. I
that?
learned something recently.
Uh-huh.
And I guess I knew it all along, but I didn't have
Mhm.
words for it. Two things can be true at once.
Okay.
Um, this is true. The best solution for public safety is to have a highly qualified and credentialed outside person to lead their program. This
Mhm.
is 100% true. This is also true. Some agencies either don't have the resources or can't see like the forest for the trees in order to allocate the resources for that.
Mhm.
And so in the fire service, not so much in police, I don't think, but in the fire service, we have this model called train the trainer. So when we bought our $1.8 million ladder truck, we didn't send the whole department up to Appleton, Wisconsin to learn how to drive it. We
Mhm.
sent like two guys up there to learn all of the intricacies of how to operate the ladder. And it's a different kind of ladder than we had before. So, how not to tip the truck over and how to override the safeties, all of the things everyone needed to know, but we can't send the whole department. We
Mhm.
sent two people to learn all of those things. This is how I move the ladder. This is how I take the outriggers in. And then they came back and taught all of us.
Mhm.
It trained the trainer. And so that works great for ladder trucks. It works great for saws. It works great for extrication equipment. It
Mhm.
does not work well for human performance, but they're trying to use that model for human
Mhm.
performance as well. So many years ago, it was ACE, the American Council on Exercise, and I don't know who they collaborated with, but it was the
Mhm.
ACE and the Wellness and Fitness Initiative from the fire service. They came up with a certification, and it was a 32-hour certification, I want to say.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's great,
Mhm.
but you can't teach someone with no background
Yeah.
anything in 32 hours other than how to maybe administer some tests. But
Mhm.
that said, and I will come back to your question, we at my department have had those peer trainers for years. And I just got sucked into doing some of the testing just right before my retirement because I think they were just like, man, we're just going to wear her out before she leaves. And the testing was at my station. So I got sucked into it. And so
Okay.
as I was doing the treadmill testing on these people, I was
Mhm.
explaining to them what we're testing. We're testing for VO2 max. And oh, by the way, this is the number that we need to have to safely do structural firefighting. And oh, by the way, this test that we're doing probably grossly overestimates your VO2 max. How do you improve it? I was telling them all these things. And the guy looked at me and goes, no one has ever explained that to me before. And I said, no shit, because no one else understands it.
Uh-huh.
But we spend this money to send these firefighters who are passionate about fitness
Mhm.
to these trainings where the people at the trainings do their best to teach them something to get their program off the ground.
Mhm.
And then they come back and they're just like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Because because
Yeah.
the peer trainers can work actually really well. I've seen it work really
Mhm.
well when they have someone from like competent and qualified to supervise them and to help them and to give them confidence and teach them how to coach. Because
Mhm.
how long did it take you to learn how to be an effective coach?
Oh man, it years.
I've been
Years.
doing it for 30 years and sometimes I still question my ability to convey a message through coaching. So now we have
Yeah.
someone with a 32-hour. And the Chiefs think they're sending these people to personal trainer camp and they're going to come back and they're going to be like with their whistle, personal trainer coach. And they're not. Like you cannot learn enough in 32 hours to be in charge of everyone's health and wellness, especially when
Mhm.
most of the fire service is a special population. Ask me why.
Why?
Most of them have type 2 diabetes,
Mhm.
metabolic syndrome, sleep apnea. Like, there's a huge
Ooh.
percentage of quite unhealthy firefighters. So, like, I can't talk to most of them about nutrition because I'm not a registered dietitian, and most of them are a special population.
Yeah.
So you're setting up these train the trainer people for
Failure.
failure. But two things can be true.
Mhm.
I can believe that that isn't good enough,
Mhm.
but also something can be better than nothing. I don't think something is always better than nothing, but sometimes something can be better than nothing. And if someone is in the station to get these people moving and to, like, hey, maybe we should choose a salad instead of French fries today, like maybe it can have a positive impact. But I do believe we should be investing as much in our personnel as we invest in our equipment.
What's the average career for a firefighter, like longevity wise? I'm curious.
Hard to answer, but
Okay.
when I got hired in the state of Illinois, in order to draw a pension, I had to work 20 years and I had to be at least 50 years old. Okay.
Wow.
You can max out your pension
Mhm.
by working 30 years, but around 2007, 8, 9, 10, whatever, we also had a tiered system come into the pension system. And so now anyone that got hired after maybe it was 2012 has a much poorer pension benefit and they have to work until they're older. And the problem is they're going to break. This isn't a solution to a pension crisis. It's creating a worse pension crisis because we're going to have more people going out on cardiovascular issues, being broken, so on and so forth before they even
Mhm.
get to their 20, they have to work 25 years and they have to be 55 to get what I got for 20 and 50.
Jeez, Pete.
Right. So this is not an easy job. And I
Yeah.
taught at one of my local fire departments this week, and I
Mhm.
taught warm up, and then we talked about shoulder like rehab. I kind of hate that word, but there's nothing better to call it.
Yeah.
And I said to them, can you prevent injury in, let's say, in football? Can you prevent injury in firefighting? Can you prevent injury? And they were like, yeah. And I'm like, but can you? Like, you can mitigate the risk of injury, but this is a high stakes, like it's 1,000 degrees and it's dark. You
Mhm.
could fall through a floor. We can't prevent that. And so I think we just have to do as much as we can to manage the risk of injury. And that's through sleep
Mhm.
and nutrition and keeping our mental health good and exercising and trying to keep ourselves as healthy as we possibly can. And I totally lost track of your question because I am so far on a tangent. Did I answer it?
I honestly don't even remember my question because I just got lost in the information you were providing me, but I absolutely love that answer. I mean,
Oh, it was about the peer trainers. You were surprised about my question,
yes.
my answer about the peer trainers. Yeah, I just think, again, two things can be true. I truly
Mhm.
believe we should be investing in professional resources for our people. And
Mhm.
I recognize that that's not always possible. But also, I do believe that you have to be working towards it. You can't just keep saying we can't do it. You have to figure it out.
No, I love that. No, that's perfect. Especially love the fact that you said that you can't prevent injury, you can mitigate it, which thank you for that because that it kind of pushes home what I always talk about with like athletes. Um,
Yeah.
so I know we talked a lot about like nutrition and then the training aspect of things. What about like I know initially when we first started talking, you brought up like the mental health and some of the trauma that firefighters have to go through. How have you gone about like maybe implementing or what would you recommend for implementing for the management of like mental health and like the stresses that they have to go through?
Yeah. So since it's not my area of expertise, I just make sure that it's
Mhm.
being addressed. Now, unfortunately, sometimes the best that fire departments are doing is employee assistance program or an EAP.
Mhm.
And that can either be a great experience or it can be a terrible experience based on your provider.
Hmm.
Um, I also encourage departments to consider having a peer support team. So that's just a group of trained peers who can
Hmm.
listen, relate, validate, and provide resources. That's a great idea. I also really encourage departments to, one of the greatest honors that was ever bestowed on me, we'll put it that way, was I was allowed to speak to our new employees on their very first day for 1 hour and to talk to them about the importance of mental health and taking care of yourself and finding a provider now, not in 3 years when you are depressed, lonely, on your 18th terrible call of the year and you don't know where to turn, because that is a terrible time to try to find a provider. I want you to go find a provider now. And I want you to think of a provider like a pair of pants. Hear me out. Sometimes you try on the pants, they don't fit very well.
Hmm.
And maybe it's just like the cut of that singular pair of pants. Maybe if you tried on the same size, at the store, same pants, they'd fit. Maybe you need a different color. Maybe you need a different, like, flared versus skinny jeans,
Hmm.
whatever. But think of it like pants and
Hmm.
don't take it personally, and find someone you can vibe with, for lack of a better term,
Hmm.
and then go see that person a couple times a year, even if you don't feel like you need it, because when the crap hits the fan, you know who to call. You already have this person who knows your history, who knows the fact that your mom died when you were 12 and whatever. So we have to proactively address mental health,
Hmm.
because there's this big campaign a couple years ago, like, it's okay to not be okay. And I
Yeah.
kind of disagree with that, because there's so many resources to help yourself. So I'd like to say, like, it's okay to not be okay for a little bit, but you should be really actively working on being okay, because there's so many resources.
Hmm.
But to completely answer your question, I always make sure that the department is addressing mental health
Hmm.
with education, counseling if possible. There's, critical incident teams. There's peer support, even if your department doesn't have peer support. There's, like, Illinois has a state peer support. So there's just so many resources. And sometimes people just don't know. I didn't know. I had one terrible 10 years in the fire service, like right in the middle. It was terrible.
Hmm.
And I didn't know. I didn't know I needed help. And if I did know I needed help, I wouldn't have known where to turn. And not because I felt that there was a stigma associated with it.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah. Just you don't know what you don't know.
And I think the same thing goes with our athletes. There's a tremendous pressure to perform on our athletes, from little kids to professionals. There's all this pressure. And I
Mhm.
think that if we do a better job as coaches of talking to them about mental health, because it's not mental health and physical health like separate, it's just
Mhm.
health. It's just health altogether. And if you're unhealthy mentally, you're probably going to be unhealthy physically, and vice versa. So creating normalcy for having a conversation, I think, it's huge.
I 100% agree with you. I definitely think, especially the fact that you just clarified with health, not just being like, because everyone hears health and they think the physical aspects, oh, I'm overweight,
Yes.
or oh, my body composition is too much with like the fat percentage. Like, no one ever
Yes.
actually combines the fact that mental health and physical health are health in a whole. So, thank you for
I can
pointing
give
out.
you a great example of physical health manifesting as a mental health, not a crisis. I won't be dramatic. It wasn't a crisis, but
Mhm.
I had a total knee replacement almost a year ago, and I was in excruciating pain for at least 8 months before that. And so my lifestyle, in terms of my exercise and my discipline to eat well and all of those things, just went out the window, because my mental health, due to the physical um, disability, just was
Mhm.
in the toilet. And so, I mean, this is what I do for a living, and I could not bring myself to put down the bag of Doritos because I just was not feeling good.
Yeah, pain is I mean, even though it's like the total knee is surgical trauma, and so your
Right.
body, it's just, oh man. I mean, so now actually you just kind of made me think of another question. Uh,
Yay.
so like as I work as a physical therapist, I'd be kind of curious to get your take on like how physical therapy maybe is underprepared in working with, because I definitely see like in physical therapy education, we don't really get a whole lot in terms of first responders, the tactical athlete, I say that. See if I can get a rise out of you. No, just kidding. But when you have all of those, they talk about that in the sports performance, sports medicine world, the National Strength Conditioning Association. But when I'm in the physical therapy school and I've been through the rigors of that, I don't feel like we get a whole lot of background on that, or like maybe even how to program for types of patients like that. I mean, if you want to go specialize, you can down the road, but like in school, they don't get a whole lot of exposure.
I love this question because I'm actually tossing around the idea of in my free time developing a course for PTs because the workers' comp model is terrible, and most firefighters end up going through that model. And
Hmm.
then we have this like in Illinois, we call it work hardening. I think in some states they call it return to work or return to play.
Yep.
But the physical therapists that I've ever dealt with are just so they rely on me to tell
Hmm.
them what my job demands are, and I don't know as necessarily my coworkers are as adept at communicating those needs. I will tell you before I go any further, one thing that you should not have your patients do is physical therapy training in their fire gear. It's a risk versus reward situation in fire gear.
Okay.
And in fact, my PhD, my dissertation is going to be on the biomechanics of physical fitness training in fire gear. So there's the biomechanical aspect of it. Now, don't misunderstand what I'm saying.
Uh-huh.
There's physical fitness training, like
Hmm.
GPP, cardio, strength training, mobility, right? There's that. And then there's
Sure.
job task training.
Hmm.
They should be doing job task training in their gear. So they should be throwing ladders, pulling hoses, climbing ladders, crawling, but they're not going to do those things at your clinic. That's number one. And number two, you do not want them bringing that gear into your clinic and exposing not only themselves, but you and everyone else to the carcinogens in that gear. Even if the gear is clean, finger quotes, washed,
Hmm.
it's never clean. And straight out of the box, brand new from the manufacturer, it is drenched in PFAS chemicals, which have been proven to cause cancer. There's a class action lawsuit against the gear manufacturers right now. I'm in it for the PFAS in the gear because they knew it caused cancer and they put it in there anyway. So
Oh my
that's number
gosh.
one. We're not going to have our physical therapy patients bringing their gear to the clinic and working out on their gear.
Hmm.
If we want to simulate the load, a vest, if we want
Those
to
are the ways.
simulate the heat,
Hmm.
sweatpants and a sweatshirt or whatever, but that's
Hmm.
number one. But we have the huge challenge of our rigs. Nobody cares.
Hmm.
Let me back up. Everybody cares about the height of your residential steps and the height of your business steps because we don't want people to get hurt on your steps. Like
Hmm.
it's code. Nobody cares about the height of rig steps. They tried to deliver a rig to us with a 23-inch step,
Oh wow.
but good is like 15, 16, 17. It's a big step wearing gear.
Yeah.
So we need to be able to step high and step down, decelerate with a load.
Hmm.
We need to have really work on our thoracic spine mobility because that SCBA, the self-contained breathing apparatus, wow, words are hard, locks down our T-spine.
Hmm.
We need to work hip mobility. Our hip mobility is dog crap. And like, I'm not telling you anything. We hurt our knees and our low back because our hip mobility is terrible. Our ankle mobility is terrible because they want us to wear these boots 24/7. I mean, not in bed, but they are having us wear these boots all the time, safety
Hmm.
toe. We have no ankle mobility, but we need to we need it all. We need anaerobic capacity. We need
Hmm.
aerobic ability. We need mobility, stability, strength, power. We need it all,
Hmm.
but we don't need to train it in our gear.
Perfect. Oh my goodness. No, I'm glad I asked that question now because that would actually, if you want help on that course, you let me know. I would be more than happy to help you with that. That could be a
Yeah.
blast.
I mean, technically, I thought all jobs had to have a job description, which
Hmm.
clearly outlined like the needs of the
Fine.
job. But I
Hmm.
work for a fire protection district, and I mean, we do what we want. That's the benefit of the fire protection district. But there's no job description that says I need to be able to drag a 185-pound dummy while wearing 100 pounds of gear. Um, I need to be able to step up 23 inches and not break my neck stepping down. Like that, there's a lot involved.
There's a lot involved. I wouldn't have thought there wouldn't be a job description. That's kind of crazy to me, actually.
Now, if you work for a city department, like
Hmm.
Milwaukee, for example, I
Hmm.
bet you we could Google up on Milwaukee and there probably is a fairly accurate job description, but it's probably not that helpful for the physical therapist, though.
True.
Must be able to lift 35 pounds above your head. Okay. Well, 35 pounds, what that means is we have to be able to grab a saw from above our head and take it down to the ground without breaking our neck.
Jeez, Pete. There's a lot of things to look into. Holy
I
smokes.
know. But here's the thing, make friends, not
Hmm.
in a creepy way, but make friends and then ask to do a ride along.
Hmm.
And then when you ask to do the ride along, don't be creepy again, but ask questions.
Hmm.
Because we don't love it when you come in and tell us you shouldn't be picking that up like that. Okay, listen, grandma is wedged between the toilet and the shower, and this is the only way I'm getting her out to do CPR. So you can take your ergonomics, and you know what? We hate being told what to do. We love answering questions.
Hmm.
Hey, that looks really heavy. What is that piece of equipment for? What do you do? How do you operate it? How do you carry it? What's challenging about using it? Asking those types of questions, we like that.
That would be fun. I'm gonna have to ask one of my buddies if I can do that. I think that'd be so much fun.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, let me just give you the 411.
Hmm.
When you go to the firehouse, it is an unwritten rule that you have to bring something.
Hmm.
And most people bring donuts, cookies, cake, ice cream because it's a no-brainer. And the
Hmm.
firefighters are like, yay. Okay, but we do not need to have type 2 diabetes. So when you go to the firehouse, jerky, nuts, um, fruit, something a little bit more healthy than like Dairy Queen, please.
Understandable. I will keep that in mind. I will keep
And
that
you'll
in
be
mind.
the guy that brought the healthy stuff, but also you won't be the guy that didn't kill 9 firefighters.
Gee, I don't want to be that guy.
Oh, drip drop. Like if you brought like drip drop or liquid IV or
Yeah, no.
whatever, like a little bit of that, just
Hmm.
stuff that actually is helpful for them because they don't need a cupcake.
No.
Ain't nobody at the firehouse need a cupcake.
Oh, easy. I have one final question for you.
Oh my
Okay.
God, so stressful.
So with what we've been talking about primarily, like with the city department, how could maybe a less well-to-do fire department, like out in rural areas, what would maybe be like some steps that they could start to do in order to make some of those more healthy or like more, steps in the right direction training wise? Because some of them don't have the budgets or they're volunteer firefighters, and I'd be
Oh,
really curious, like how you circumvent some of those struggles.
so there's a statistic. I want to say 80% of the United States is volunteer
Mhm.
firefighters. I'm probably saying these wrong, but I think there's like a million career firefighters and maybe three. I'm saying it wrong. I'm not going to finish those stats, but the majority of the country is covered by volunteer firefighters.
Mhm.
Yikes. So the if you are not completely rural and if you are not completely volunteer, let's just say you're smaller departments
Mhm.
in Southern Illinois. Okay, so we got this department and 15 miles away, we got this one, and there's a few of them.
Yeah.
At least in Illinois, we have this thing called MABUS divisions, mutual aid box alarm system. They're like groups of fire departments that sort of work together and they have intergovernmental agreements about responses and sharing resources. I have always said that one of the resources that they should share is health and wellness professionals. So maybe tiny department in Southern Illinois can't afford a professional, but they might be able to afford 15 grand. And
Hmm.
if 6 other departments put in 15 grand, is my mathing 75,000, they might be able to get a 3/4 time athletic trainer to share between those departments. So that's one option. If we're talking like rural and volunteer, like I come from Salem, South Dakota, all volunteer,
Yeah.
and they never lose a foundation though. But there's usually a way to partner with someone.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's a gym in town, now I'm a professional, I want to be paid for my services. I will do pro bono work to some extent, but
Mm-hmm.
if there's some way to partner with a gym where a couple times a week there's a group exercise class after everyone gets off work, or they can have a dietitian come in and speak, you know, once a quarter and give her like, I don't know, $50 or something like that. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
do believe professionals should be paid, but I also believe that there are professionals out there that are happy to help, at least to some extent, for cheap or free.
Mm-hmm.
That said, two things can be true at the same time. Something is not always better than nothing. You get an old school dietitian
Mm-hmm.
who is not a sports dietitian, who doesn't understand the fire service and just comes in saying like, don't eat carbs. Well, that's not going to be the right fit. So we just have to kind of be careful who we invite into our fold. And that's also okay. So once we get done with the PT course, we need to figure out a way to vet professionals, um, and have a directory for departments
That would
in
be
our free time.
free time.
I know I'm not going to have any, I don't think.
I was gonna say, I don't know what about free time, but we will see.
I
Game on.
know Jay called me the other day. He's like, I have really exciting news. We might have this partnership and it's in Oklahoma City and it's only like 30 minutes away, which is fantastic. I'm so excited. But I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I don't know if I have time. It's going to be amazing.
No, that'll be so much fun. I'm so
I
down.
know. I know. Well, if you're ever in Oklahoma, come visit us.
Sounds like fun.
Um, we're going to be doing a lot of research again on the first on the biomechanics of training and gear, and then the second part is the exposure, the added exposure. Um, so yeah, should be a really good
Game
studies.
on.
Game
Game
on, party on, Garth.
on. Party on, Wayne.
You got that one,
I
but
knew that one at
that
least.
was the '90s though, right?
Oh gosh, I want to say yes. I want to say Wayne's World was. Let's see what we got.
Okay, listeners, this guy did not know Max Headroom, and I am very embarrassed for myself, not for him, for
1992.
myself. Oh yeah, okay, 1992.
Nice, nice.
I almost had my master's. Oh no, I was graduating from college. Oh my God.
No, Annette, you have been an absolute joy to have on the podcast today. I've had way too much fun with this today. Uh,
If you ever need more nonsense, just let me know. I can fill up another hour with nonsense.
I could do that. I could do that. No, but everyone, I hope you all enjoyed this hour of conversation with Annette Zapp. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, but we will see you guys in the next episode.
Thank you.